Hi everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm bringing you the third episode in my Rainbow series. In each episode of this I pick 5 books off my shelf that are a particular colour. Today we're doing yellow. I'll leave the playlist of other videos in this series linked down below in the description and in the cards. We have already done red and orange. And this is basically just an excuse for me to talk about some books that I normally don't get the chance to talk about on the channel. Maybe they're books I haven't read in a while, maybe they're not the kind of books that come up in tags that often, and I just want an excuse to talk about them. I feel like that was enough explanation for me saying I'm going to show you some books that are yellow. So let's just get into it. I'm going to kick things off with a non-fiction book, and this is Queer Intentions by Amelia Abraham. This book should be essential queer reading. It is so good. So Amelia is a journalist and she's basically gone around talking to lots of people in lots of different subsections of the queer community about their experiences of being queer, what that means to them, what the community means to them, how they have seen things change over the years. It's a really empathetic and passionate book. It really highlighted some things that I hadn't really considered before. It looks at things like queer community spaces, gay bars. It looks at how RuPaul's Drag Race has impacted queer culture. It looks at gay marriage. It looks at pride, and it really examines how different people feel differently about these things. You know, some people have more positive reactions than others, even within the queer community itself. It's a really fascinating read for anyone who is interested in queer culture. Next, I have a book that is semi-non-fiction and semi-poetry, and that is Nobody Told Me by Holly McNish. Holly McNish is she my favourite poet of all time? Like, she is up there. Like, really, really up there. She writes the exact kind of poetry that I love, that is really inspired by spoken word, where she speaks in her own voice, her own accent, where she is dealing with serious topics and things that are slightly more trivial. And this book is all about poetry and parenthood. It's about her journey through pregnancy and having her child, watching her child grow up, being a mother. This book includes the poems that she wrote through those various stages of her life. In this book, the poems that she wrote at those various stages of parenthood are included, but there are also some, I don't even want to say that they're necessarily essays, they're kind of musings, just things that she was thinking about at the time. I think that's also a really great way for getting into poetry. You know, if you have the poet kind of telling you what was going on in their life, what they were thinking about when they were writing these particular poems. It's very, very honest, and that is something that I truly appreciated when reading this book. I saw Holly read a couple of years ago at Derby Book Festival, and I got this signed, and it was one of the few times in my life where I've been kind of just really, really excited to meet someone. And she said that she loved my lipstick, so that's when my life peaked, I think. Next, I have Ordinary People by Diana Evans. This is a book that follows 2 couples who are really at quite a fraught stage in their relationships. They are dealing with how identity can shift when becoming a parent. It looks at the role that sex plays in relationships. It looks at intimacy, both physical and emotional. It examines grief and how that can take a toll on relationships. In many ways, it is such a quiet novel. You really are just getting a glimpse into these people's lives, and they feel so honest and authentic. There's also this running thread throughout the background of this book of John Legend's music, and you also have the impact of Barack Obama's presidency lingering in the background as well. There is a slightly supernatural element to this book towards the end, which I know some people didn't enjoy, but I thought it was done really well and incorporated in a really interesting way. And I love this cover. I mean, I know we're focusing on the colour here, but I'm obsessed with this cover. Next, I have Here I Stand, which is an anthology with lots of different really fantastic writers in it. These are stories and poems aimed at young adults, but I got so much out of it as a grown-up reader. Everything in this collection is really focused on either celebrating freedom or mourning its loss. It's published alongside Amnesty International, and it's a collection that is really all about fighting for your rights. Just a few of the authors that are in this collection are Jackie Kay, there's A.O. Kennedy, there's Matt Haig, there's Neil Gaiman, there's Amy Leon, Sarah Crossan, Frances Harding, there's Chris Riddell, who also did the cover illustration. I think this is a really important collection. And the final yellow book I'm going to talk to you guys about is We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler. It is several years since I read this book, and it left such an impact on me when I read it. This is a book that has a lot to do with sibling relationships. We're following Rosemary, who no longer has relationships with the siblings that she was once very close to. She is now at university, and it has been 10 years since she last saw her older brother. There's also this kind of mystery around what happened to Fern, her sister. One day, Rosemary was sent away to stay with her grandparents, and when she returned home, Fern was gone. And there is a twist in this book that I can't really talk about, and this book is about something very different to just that. But if I tell you what that is, it is a huge spoiler for the book. But I remember so vividly getting to the twist, and I couldn't process it. Like, I was so shook. And then suddenly everything made sense. If you know what the twist is, don't spoil it, don't put it in the comments. But if you know what it is, I would love to hear what your reaction to the twist was. So there we have it. They are all of the yellow books I wanted to talk to you about. I actually had so many yellow books on my shelves. I think it's a colour that I really gravitate towards in book design because it's not a colour that I wear very much, like in my clothes. So I think I really gravitate towards it in book covers. So who knows, we might do a round 2. When we've got through all of the colours, we might go back round again. All of the books that I've spoken about will be linked down below in the description so you can find out more about them, and do leave me a little comment or your favourite yellow emoji, which is basically all of the face emojis, but you know. I will talk to you in my next video and the next video in this series where we are going to be talking about 5 green books. Can you tell that the Irish Readathon is coming up? I've timed this very well. That's all for me today. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will talk to you in my next video.